The name of this next horse is Who Farted, but listen to the call.
Who Farted on the extreme outside. Colorado Co-Ed, Toast a Dozen on the inside. Questions Jet. Who Farted? Who Farted on the outside? It's close. Who Farted in the winner's circle?
¡Claro que sí! ¡Ay, ja, ja! ¡Sí, señor!
Hey there, pod people. This is another episode of Who Farted. I'm Doc, and there's no Mex today. This is actually a special episode where I get to talk to my new friend from across the pond, Wayne Cooper. He is the host of the Pooh Finger podcast, and you guys can find him on Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also check him out on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the show.
It sounds really good because normally you'd get a lot of echo, especially because you've not got a lot on the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've not got a lot of soft furnishings.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of hard wooden things. So normally it would be bouncing around, and you'd have the same problem we had on the first episode. But I couldn't believe the difference these blankets made when I put them up.
I agree. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. No, it's
Just
great.
putting blankets for your sound is spot on, really. I can't see anything wrong with it. Even now, like, it's a little bit fuzzy, but I think that's just because my internet's probably not the greatest.
Oh yeah, mine's not great either. So there's a slight delay too, so I'm sure that we're talking over each other a little bit as well. But yeah,
a little bit. But that's what you get from being the other side of the planet.
yeah, I know. Yeah, trust me, I
I'll
don't
be
want.
perfect.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't want to be here, but this is where I'm at, man. You know, so yeah.
So what are the plans? Are you going to get out of there soon, or is it a long-term thing?
I mean,
Eventually you'll get there.
once the kids are old enough, then yeah, we're gonna take off. My wife wants to go to Vegas.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, but when you're gone, so you make your own. What you want us to get a house in Vegas, so then that way you can come visit.
Yeah.
It's the only way that they're gonna come and visit is if we end up getting a house in Vegas.
Well,
so yeah,
That sounds like a fair deal.
yeah, yeah. We just went to Vegas. Well, you know, I told you we were going, but yeah, I mean, we like it. It's just that it's so freaking hot, and it's hot here. I mean, I've told you how hot it gets, but Vegas is just the same way. So, but
I was going to say, because that's in a desert, has that not got the same sort of humidity and air problem you've got there?
well, the problem with here is that we get all the smog and the pollution from up north. So like the Bay Area, the San Francisco area. So all that traffic that's going on up there, the wind will come and kick it down all the way down into the valley, and we're at the end of the valley. So we have to have really strong winds to get it to all go away. Plus here we also have a bunch of agriculture and farmland. So we've got a lot of pesticides here. We have cows. So we got all their farts up in the air, and so we're just it's bad. Everybody here in Bakersfield has asthma, and it's just yeah. This town or city, whatever you want to call it, ranks either 1 or number 2 in the worst air quality in the whole country year after year. So it's pretty bad, yeah. And I think go ahead.
So over here we have a lot of asthma as well. I had it growing up, but I think mine was more allergies and that kind of rubbish because I was a weak child. But, I think just because we're so compact Like, we've got a lot of countryside, but where there is people, they're all like on top of each other. We've just got constant pollution everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that just doesn't help.
In Vegas, it's hot, but the pollution isn't there because there's really nothing else around there. So,
Yeah, quite flat, isn't it?
yeah, and then the valley that
Yeah.
it's sitting in is big enough to where everything will blow away. So it doesn't really sit there on Vegas. I mean, over time, if it continues to grow like it has, then it'll get bad. But it's pretty good. And then as far as humidity goes, we don't get humidity. It's a dry desert heat, so it's hot, but you don't feel mucky, so that's nice.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not sticky.
Yeah, not sticky. I went to see family in Arkansas, and I don't know if you're familiar where Arkansas is.
Yeah, there's a racer from that on Wacky Races.
What? The races?
Wacky Races.
Oh,
Yeah, the Wacky Races.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you got all your American geography from that show?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, all right then.
All from different states, if I remember rightly.
But in Arkansas, which is like down in the south, like that's humid, man. And as soon as we opened up the door to the van, like instantly I was sweating. It's disgusting. I can't stand that. So if we move, I'm definitely not moving to a southern state like that. So humidity, no thank you. So
It's Arkansas sort of like near Louisiana and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sort of the swampy areas.
yeah. Actually,
Right.
I will show you. So here's Arkansas. It's right next to Oklahoma, close to Texas, and then there's Louisiana.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were right.
Yeah, you
man.
see, because I know of all these places, and I know roughly where they are, sort of in relation to each other, but I very rarely look at a map and see where they actually are. So, like Albuquerque, I wouldn't have thought was in between Vegas and Louisiana, but I
Yeah.
don't know why. I'd have bunched Albuquerque more towards Louisiana, if that makes sense.
Well,
In my mind, just that conception of it.
yeah. To be fair, though, how would you even know? Like, it's not your job to know American geography.
Oh no, I find it fascinating the fact that you guys have got so many different environments
Yeah.
and sort of like ecosystems that are found around the world. You've got them all in your country. Your country's massive.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it interests me like when you see the difference between say Alaska and Florida. It's they're completely opposite ends of the country, but also completely opposite like just styles.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing too with Alaska is you got to go through Canada just to get there. So we got to go through another country just to get to it.
It is odd.
Yeah. And then you go further out this way, and you're like, oh look, Hawaii. So
Yeah. See, because that's very similar to in Europe. I don't know if you're familiar with the Canary Islands.
I've heard of it. I just don't know where it's at. Like,
So yeah, so they're part of Spain, right? So you've got I don't know why I'm pointing at my screen. You can't see what I'm pointing at.
yeah.
But yeah, there you go. So you got Spain there, and the Canary Islands are Spanish islands. But that's not that.
That's not
The
them.
Canary Islands are actually just west off the coast of Morocco.
Oh wait,
So if you go
Morocco's down here.
further down,
Yeah.
so if you go further down and then off to the left, them islands there,
These right here.
I would say that's Africa. Yeah,
Yeah, that's Africa.
yeah, but no, that's Spain.
Oh, I'll be damned.
If that is what I'm thinking, I can't quite read what it says there, but it should be Tenerife, Lanzarote, and one other. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, it says Canarius. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, that's it then. So, yeah, that's Spain apparently. I've been to Lanzarote and Tenerife, Tenerife, the volcano island, and Lanzarote is where they filmed most of the Solo movie. And Solo,
Oh,
for
okay.
Star Wars, like all the desert scenes are filmed on the beaches.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool place. Like Lanzarote, I went with the wife before the kids were born, and it's made up of something. It's a tiny island. It takes about 45 minutes to drive around, but it's made up of like 170 volcanoes.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
It's insane.
I like geography, so I'm with you.
Yeah. So Tenerife, I went for a bachelor party, I guess you guys call it, a stag do.
Oh yeah.
It was for my brother, and we've got a friend, like a family friend, that lives in. He lives in Tenerife, so he showed us all the good spots to go. But yeah, that was a good fun time. But it's weird because like in Tenerife, all the beaches are volcanoes, volcanic ash.
Oh wow. Okay. So is the color still like a beach looking color, or is it like
No,
black?
it's black.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's black. It's really bizarre because Lanzarote is made up of the volcanoes, but Tenerife isn't.
That is interesting.
It's odd.
Yeah, I know in Hawaii the Big Island doesn't have a lot of like beach type beaches. They have a lot of like huge volcanic rock, and then you'll see like massive rocks like sticking out of the ground on the Big Island. So that one I've been there and it's fun.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I was watching a video the other night actually of it was a skateboarders. It's the skateboard photographer, so he's a camera guy, and but he started releasing uncut footage from like all the skate footage that he bought. And this particular one was they'd gone to Hawaii to start up a skate school for all the kids in Hawaii, like to give them something to do. And but yeah, he had lots of footage of the beach, and like you say, it was all volcanic rock with big, huge boulders sticking out and that kind of stuff. It looked awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. They actually, my ex-wife, her dad actually had a house on that island, up on the mountain, and he used to make coffee, the Kona coffee there. So the only thing I miss about my ex-wife was getting free Kona coffee. So that was it. But
is that the cat ass coffee?
No, that's like the Philippines and like Vietnam. Where
right.
Yeah, where they eat the bean, they shit it out, and then they go ahead and like roast
bean.
it. Yeah. So yeah, but that shit's expensive, man. I still want to try it though.
Yeah. Yeah, I do and I don't. I love coffee, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Not the fact that it's been through a cat's ass. I just think, why has a human being gone through that effort, or even had the idea to think, hey, look, there's a coffee bean in that cat's fucking shit.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
drink it.
Yeah, I know. I think about that stuff all the time. Like, who thought of this kind of stuff? You know, like who decided that I'm gonna go ahead and dig through this animal's shit and then do that? You know. Well, it's the same thing with weed, though. Like, who was that first person who was like, you know what, I'm gonna smoke this?
Stop
You
it,
know?
little bee!
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
My dog's going crazy. Hold on a sec.
Oh no.
All right.
How come the kids are at school today? Is it like a teacher training day or something?
No, actually, it's today is the day that they observe Martin Luther King Jr. So we get
right.
the day off. Yeah. So and since I work for a school, so I'm a custodian. So every school holiday I get it off too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's sweet.
yeah, I know that you guys get more like holiday time, but I think that we probably have more like bullshit like holidays than you guys do.
Yeah, well, we used to when I was at school, we had 9 weeks for the summer, which
wow.
was a lot. But gradually over time, by the time I left school, I think it had gone down to 7, and now I think it's 5. I
Damn.
think it's
Okay.
only just over a month now. Yeah, so and we get things called bank holidays. So I think it's like 100 years ago or so when the banks were running things, they'd close down on these Mondays, like a Friday and a Monday. I don't know why. I think it was just and like so when they closed down, everything else closed down. So all the shops and things couldn't function without the banks being open.
Okay.
So that they could sort of work hand in hand. And so obviously we grew out of that over time, and banks are open Saturdays now, as
Yeah.
well as Fridays and Mondays. And for some reason they just kept it, so it's on the calendar every year. Bank holidays, I think there's four a year, so you get a long weekend.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but you guys have like Labor Day and President's Day and all that kind of stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
And
Like,
doing that just one day, is it?
yeah, it's just one day. But we got in the month of January we have we have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. We have New Year's Day off. Not everything's off. Not everybody's off on New Year's Eve. So New Year's Day is off. And then we've got Martin Luther King Jr. And then February we have Lincoln's birthday and we have President's Day. And then in March...
You'd have thought they'd be the same day.
What?
You'd have thought they'd be the same day.
Yeah.
With how many presidents you've had, you can't have a day off for each president, like so.
Yeah. They're like...
It's not just Abraham Lincoln's Day.
That's why I feel like they're just making shit up. So...
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I think either in March or April, I think it's usually like in April, we have like, oh no, it's March. Like, I think it's at the end of March, the beginning of April, they have like spring break. So they'll have a whole week off, the kids will.
Yeah.
And then we end up they go right back to school for like maybe a month and then they're done. So, yeah, you know, and then we have the 4th of July. That's a big deal. I hate it. I think it's dumb.
It is a crazy celebration. Because, like, over here, people are like, oh, yeah, Independence Day, oh, it's brilliant. And I just think, yeah, but they're celebrating being independent from us.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's we would think. So,
My
yeah.
My
It's
favorite is when people ask, like, people from England, it's like, do you guys have 4th of July over there? And they're like, yeah, we have 4th of July. We don't do any celebrating, but it's the 4th of July. It's just another day.
Well, I celebrate because it's my youngest brother's birthday.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah, there you go.
So I celebrate it but for different reasons.
I don't like it for the same reason I don't like New Year's. Like, it's just another excuse to give explosives to drunks. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get like the firework thing. They're nice to look at and everything, but to fuck around with them, everybody knows what happens when you fuck around with a firework. You're holding an explosive.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna blow up. Like, that's what it's made to do.
Yeah.
Yet you're gonna hold for as long as you can.
They're dumb.
Well, just asking for trouble.
Yeah. Every year, though, you end up seeing in the news, like, oh, this person lost fingers, this person lost a hand, this person shot their eye out with an illegal firework. It's just ridiculous. I mean, they are fun to look at if they're done, like, professionally, but you spend so much money, like, getting fireworks. Like, you could drop $200 on fireworks, and then you're done in, like, 20 minutes. You're like, I can't believe that, you know? And every time 4th of July comes around and we have to buy fireworks, all I could think of is, like, I'm literally burning my money. Like, that's the way I feel. I can't stand it.
If you're buying fireworks, you might as well be buying cocaine. Because it's the exact same thing. You get 5 minutes of fun, and then you got to buy more.
Yeah, I can't.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do cocaine. I'm pretty sure if I did coke, then I'd have a heart attack. There's no way. My heart is already like beating like super fast all the time. Anyways, I couldn't hang
Yeah.
with coke. There's no way,
So
man.
I've tried it. I've tried it 3 times where I've done it, like on an evening, like properly. Like I say properly, like occasionally people will have like, oh yeah, I'll just have a cheeky one,
Uh-huh.
and then that's it, like 5 minute buzz. But when I say properly, I mean like be on it all night, like so for as long as you can.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. Hated it.
Yeah.
Hated it so much because I had my group of friends. They're sort of split down the middle. So one half will be like me and Kempin smoking. We smoke weed. That's
Yeah.
what we do to have fun on an evening. And then the other half are like, let's drink and do cocaine. And so every so often, like me and Kempin would go, oh, we'll join in on the cocaine.
Yeah.
We'll join your guys' party for a night. And it was always horrible. And just you end up with no money and a runny nose and a headache, and your heart feels like it's going to run away.
Yeah.
There's just no point. Such a waste. Waste
Yeah.
of money.
For like a brief period of time, I ended up doing snuff. Do you know what snuff is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah, I had a friend who started doing that once, and I tried it. I didn't like it.
yeah, I mean, because I was just, I don't know. I guess I was always trying to find a new trend before it became a trend. So, and also too, I was curious because like I would see like these movies with people like opening up a box and then just taking a little bit of a pinch and then like sniffing it. I'm like, are all these people doing coke? But
That's
it's,
what I thought.
yeah.
That's what I always thought too.
So I looked it up and I found out it was snuff. They were doing snuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it. So I don't know. Nobody buys snuff, so I'm sure that this stuff was like expired. But I tried it, and the runny nose thing was like the biggest issue I had. And then also too, like you do enough of it, and then your nose starts to stain, and yeah, I'm like, I'll pass, man. Yeah. So, but every once in a while, I would do a little pinch, and then there we go. So, now what are you smoking right now?
Well, when I first joined you, I was smoking a joint,
Yeah.
but just a rolling tobacco.
Yeah.
Because I'm so poor at the moment, I've not been able to buy weed for at least a couple of months. But whenever we do the podcast, Kempin will just like leave me a little bud, and because I even though it sounds like I'm stoned out my mind on the podcast all the time, which I am, but I only actually put like a really light sprinkling. It's basically a cigarette that I'm smoking.
Yeah.
But I've just got a light sprinkling of herb in there on
Yeah.
the top. And because I don't smoke it to get really mashed anymore, like I do on the podcast.
Yeah.
So when I'm smoking by myself, like I'll come in here, set up my tablet, do some drawing, listen to some music and stuff, and just have a little. Well, I suppose you guys, because a joint to you guys is pure weed.
Yeah.
And a spliff is a mixture of tobacco and weed.
Yeah.
That's what I've gathered from Reddit. I'm learning a lot from Reddit.
Yeah, there you go.
And, so I smoke spliffs, but I'd say it's probably 95% tobacco.
Tobacco? Okay. Yeah.
So I smoke it just purely because it just relaxes all my muscles and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. Because I have a lot of aches and pains from past injuries, so on a daily basis, it's just something. At the end of the day, once the kids are in bed, I come in here and just sit and have a little smoke,
Yeah.
and just my body just melts a little bit, and all my problems go away.
I like because it's legal recreationally here now. In fact, actually, they just I believe they just passed a law where now employers can't fire you for a positive test. So which is great.
Well, it depends what job. That's good.
It's good because I mean, like if to me, I feel like, if you're not doing it on the job, then you should be able to smoke at home. Like, who cares, But
Yeah.
but I had I went up to my aunt's house, and my her husband at the time would work on a pot farm, and so they had a bunch of free weed, so we got some, and I had a little too much, so I ended up getting nauseous. My head was spinning. I was like super pale. I had like sweats, and just my skin was clammy, and I couldn't do anything. I was just sitting there in the chair, and then eventually I threw up, and it was just,
Yeah,
it
we
was
call that white.
what?
We call that a whitey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kempin, when he first started smoking, when I we were probably about 16 or 17 when he started, I peer pressured him into it eventually,
Yeah.
but he garnered the nickname Mr. White.
Oh, okay.
He every time he would smoke, eventually he would go pale, sweat, and then be sick.
Yeah. Like, that was just too much.
Yeah.
I did smoke a couple times after that, and I paced myself. But the problem is that like I ended up I only took 2 hits, but I coughed, and when I cough, like it ends up getting all in your lungs, and then I was dumb and decided to take another hit, and the same thing. I did the same thing again, coughed again, and I could swear like everybody. My wife was saying no, that wasn't true, but I was pretty sure that after I ended up like 2 hours after, like I remember burping and seeing smoke coming out of my mouth. So I don't know if I still had it there in me, but yeah, yeah. I'm like, dude, I was just continuously getting high all this time. So, but yeah,
I've only had one.
What?
Only ever had one whitey. Sorry. Only ever had one whitey, and I remember it clear as day. I was 16 at a friend's house, and we'd obviously we'd been drinking as well, which didn't help. But I'd smoked and then gone pale, and everyone at this party looked at me and went, "Wayne, what? Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm gonna be sick." And they're like, "Oh, okay." So I just got up, like went over to my friend's sink because we were in the kitchen at this party, and it was full of pots, and then everyone was looking. Oh no! And but I just calmly just took every single pot out of the sink, like made sure it was all clear, leaned my head over, was sick directly into the plug hole, so it was minimal mess.
Nice.
Gave it all a little wipe, the disinfectant, and went and sat back down, and was right as rain for the rest of the night.
Oh,
And
wow.
my friend's older brother was there at the party, and he had a rule that if anyone was sick, they were going to get thrown out. And when he says thrown out, it means literally picked up and thrown out, because he was a coke dealer. He was a no nonsense kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and went, "Wayne, were you sick in my sink?" I said, "Yes, I was. I'm not going to lie to you. I was sick. Loads of people saw it. Like, I apologize." And he just went, "Well, you know the rule, but I'm going to let you off because, well, number one, I like you. Number two, you're making me and my friends laugh. And number three, you cleaned up after yourself."
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't
Yeah.
open there. Literally 10 minutes later, there was one of our friends on the sofa, and he threw up. He was just passed out, and he threw up, and it went all down himself, all over the sofa, and he didn't even notice. He was blackout drunk. And yeah, he got thrown out, literally by the scruff of his neck, thrown out the front door. This was in a vicarage as well. My friend's dad was the vicar.
Oh my
And his
God.
parents were away. And the guy stood there, and because he lived it's about 8 miles away, and he had no way of getting home. We were all 16 years old, like, and he was in a state, so he was knocking on the door trying to get back in. And my friend's brother opened the door, looked at him, said, "Fuck you," and picked up a bucket of ice cold water and threw it, or like
Damn.
completely drenched him. In the middle of December as well. It was like -2 outside, and then slammed the door in his face. Yeah, we were all kind of like, "What do we do? What do we do?
Jeez.
Like, do we go help him? But we're all fucked up, and if we go help him, we'll be out in the cold."
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Like, he made his
Luckily,
choice.
yeah, exactly. One person volunteered because it was like his best friend, and he was like, I'll get him home, guys. Don't worry." Sacrificed himself for the cause. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild night.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I remember so much of it, actually.
Yeah, seaweed doesn't affect the memory like they say.
For me, I've always had really bad short-term memory, regardless of smoking weed. Like even before I started smoking weed, and like my family have a history of dementia and a lot of memory problems, so it's kind of been a natural thing for me to forget stuff in the short term,
Yeah.
but remember a lot of details about long-term stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think too, if
uh,
things make an impact on you, like it's easy to remember that, you know. It's like ingrained in your head, so
and it's great when because obviously my short-term memory I forget, but then years down the line something might remind me, and I'll go, "Oh,
yeah.
I remember this. I've done this before."
Yeah. Yeah. But
So it's kind of a gift.
it's kind of a what? A game?
Kind of a gift. A gift
Oh, a gift. Yeah.
until
okay.
it's until my memory fails me.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't actually like the first time, because like I grew up in church, and I was a goody, so you know, I wasn't gonna do that stuff because it was against the law, and God was watching, so I didn't actually smoke until I was 33. That was the first time I tried weed. So yeah, it was late to the party.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
This is like I think that everybody that's against it, if they tried it, then I think they'd change their mind. They wouldn't be for it completely,
Yeah.
but I think they'd realize the attraction to it and the benefit of it.
Well, see, the
If
thing,
that makes
yeah, but the thing is, I was never against it. Like in high school, I actually did a report. Like we had to get up in front of everybody, and I did a report on medical marijuana, and because I knew my audience, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get, I know that they're all smoking weed, so they're gonna love this, and you know, so I was never, I learned a lot from, you know, of the benefits from that report that I did. And so I was never really against it. It's just that for me, I wasn't going to take the chance of getting caught or having to go through the trouble of trying to buy it, you know, all that stuff. You know, it's like for me, I'm not willing to take that risk. You know, I've always been the type of person where, like, if I know what the consequences will be, and I know that that jail time is going to be that possibility, there's no way I'm going to do it because I don't want anything going in my butthole. So,
yeah.
yeah.
See, I'm quite lucky that I've never ever had a run-in with the law in any way. So if I do ever get caught, say, growing a plant, because I'm quite familiar with the laws through my brother, my middle brother. He's a sergeant in the police force over here. But he's anti everything. Like he doesn't like alcohol, weeds, tobacco, anything. But he gets annoyed with the amount of resources spent over here trying to find weed farms and arrest people for dealing and things like that. Because he sees the effect of other drugs and alcohol on people.
Yeah.
That completely fuck them up and make them do stupid stuff. And he also sees the effects that weed has on people. And he says, I've never once had a problem with anyone that I've caught smoking weed. They've been polite. They've been cooperative. They've just said, yep, you've got me. He said, but you'd stop a crackhead and say, I've just seen you buy drugs. And then you've got a fight on your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, even taking a bottle of beer off someone in the street, you're getting into a fight. And so he sees it as a complete waste of time chasing it and thinks it should be legalized. which is
Oh,
I
yeah.
was quite surprised to hear that from him because he's so straight laced.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. No, what's that like, anyways? Like over there in England, like you guys, because I mean, you could take a day trip to another country, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. We don't need visas or anything like that unless we're gonna stay there and
Okay.
work. So I think you get up to 8 weeks. I think it is just with a passport. You just jump on a ferry or on a plane, like because you can literally just get a boat to Holland from our east coast. It
Jeez.
takes I think it takes about 8 hours. I think it's an 8 hour crossing on a ferry. So you just drive your car on and you just sail over there. You drive your car off and you're in Holland.
So how long does it take from where you're at? How long does it take for you to drive to Holland?
If I was to drive to Holland, I think the total is about 10.5 hours,
Okay.
including the ferry ride.
Okay.
So, I mean, and to France, I think because I've gone to France a few times when I was doing the house removals, furniture removals, and I think it depended on where you're going in France, because France is a much shorter trip. It's like I think it's 10 miles between England and France.
Hmm.
But that's all the distance there is in the channel, and so you can get a ferry or you can drive through the channel
Okay.
tunnel, which obviously goes underneath the sea. It's like a mechanical marvel,
Yeah.
engineering marvel.
I remember seeing
Um,
something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so on the ferry, which is the only way I've gone across, it takes about I think it's about 2 hours because it's really slow ferry, like big passenger ferry. It carries trucks and all sorts on it. Yeah, and so from there to the south of France, because you arrive in Calais, which is sort of northwest of France, and then you could drive down the coast and get to the south in about I think that took about 6 hours, 7 hours.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and like that's wine country. Then you're in Bordeaux, which is where all the fancy French people live.
Well, like for me, if I were to drive to say Oregon, that would be about a 12-hour drive from where I'm at. So
That's-
yeah, and then maybe more like 10. Yeah, something like that. After a while, you're like, why does it even fucking matter? It's long. But
Is Oregon sort of bang in the middle?
no, Oregon is the state right above California. So
Oh right, so it's just the next state.
yeah, the next state up, right? So with California is
That's crazy.
long. California is long, and
Yeah.
I'm in Southern California, or I would say I'm in Central California.
Right.
For us, but the cool thing about this city is that it takes us about 4.5 hours to drive to Vegas. It takes about 2 hours to drive to LA. It takes 3 hours to drive to the beach. If we want to go to San Francisco or the Bay Area, which is the San Francisco Bay Area, if we want to go there, then it takes about 5.5 hours to drive up there. So everything
Right.
is within. There's a lot of things that are within driving distance of one day. So you could go there, do stuff, spend the night, and then come back the next day. So it's nice. You could actually, if we wanted to, we could go to LA and then come back. But the traffic in LA is ridiculous. So, I mean, I knew
it's
you
a lot.
guys. Yeah, it's bad. I know you have bad traffic too. So,
Oh no, I've seen video footage of LA traffic, and it looks like an absolute nightmare.
oh yeah, man, it's terrible. I think though the worst though would be like India. Have you ever seen their stuff?
Oh yeah, that's madness.
Yeah. Like there's no traffic laws. It's total traffic anarchy. It's just utter chaos. And then you got cows like everywhere and they can't hit them or move them.
I know a lot of people died traffic accidents and stuff, but the number isn't anywhere near what you would expect if you watch a video of someone driving through India.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And they're constantly on their horns. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. The first time I ever saw it, I was watching The Amazing Race, and then I was like, "Wow, okay." And I'm like, "I'm never going to this country." You know,
Look, nothing about it appeals to me. My wife watches that 90 Day Fiance. She's mad on it, and yeah, there's a couple that are in India, and I just look at it. I think just even like their apartment and stuff just doesn't appeal to me. Like the way of life doesn't appeal to me.
No.
I mean, as long as they're happy, that's fine. You do you, but I couldn't live in cities like that.
no.
Like, I think our cities are bad over here. Like there's some pretty nasty. I used to live literally in the middle of our city. My cousin owned an apartment that had been built in the city centre, and for I think it was about 2 years, I lived with him, and we worked together and stuff, and it was brilliant. Like just being in the city because I could literally 5-minute walk and I was in a bar.
Yeah.
And it was at the time when I drank, so like it was brilliant for me. I'd literally go in the middle of the day, go into a bar and sit there and have a burger and a few beers by myself, and then go home and have a nap. Then go meet friends later on, and it was convenient, but the amount of dodgy like sort of criminals and like all the homeless people, because a lot of the homeless people are career homeless people in the cities.
Yeah.
So there's literally been people that have been caught on camera in Leicester that have got out of the like been in the city centre with a cardboard cutout saying please spare some change, and he sat there, and if you think like the city centre probably has 100,000 people walk through it every day, and occasionally someone will walk by and throw a pound in.
Yeah.
If just like 1 in every 10 people do that, he's made $1,000.
Yeah.
He would literally sit there with his, like, obviously every so often just taking the money out so it looked like he didn't have enough, and then he was caught on camera getting up, leaving his spot in the city centre, walking to his car, putting his suit on and his tie, getting his briefcase, getting in his car, and then driving off.
Yeah.
It's like this guy like clearly has a family and kids and stuff, and rather than tell them he's not got a job, he goes and sits in the middle of the city centre a couple of days a week and makes more money than I do.
Yeah. It makes you
It's
think, huh?
madness.
You're like, maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my cousin, because we used to play poker once a week, and we just put sort of £10 in, so not high stakes or anything. And one night he won, and him and one of the other lads walked across into town to go to a bar, and he saw a homeless guy, and this guy said, "Oh, can you please spare a couple of quid so I can get on a bus and go and stay with friends, or like go find somewhere cheaper to stop for the night?" And my cousin just went, "Here's £20." He said, "Go get yourself a meal, get that bus, like spend it on whatever you want." He said, "You can spend it on drugs if you want. I don't care. I'm in a good mood." Like my cousin was quite a cocky guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I'm in a good mood. Just go for it." And the guy looked at him and said, "Have you got any more?" My cousin went, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, have you got more? Because if you give me another 20 quid, I'll be able to stop in a hotel for the night, and that'd be better." And my cousin just went mad, because he would always, because he's always had a lot of cash. Anybody that asked for money, he'd just go, "There you go. There's some change." He'd always give to people that needed it. And yeah, the fact that this guy had just been given more money than he would ever get from one person, and then asked for double.
Yeah.
My cousin just lost his shit and just started kicking off with it. It's like the absolute nerve. He's like, "I've just given you more money than you've asked for, like, and you're asking me for more." He's like, "You absolute piece of shit."
Yeah.
And he said, "Because of you, I'm never putting my hand in my pocket for a stranger again." And he didn't.
Yeah.
He was just always. It was like, you never know if you're going to get that one cocky bastard that's trying to scam people.
Yeah, I don't give anybody that's begging for it. I won't give it to them. But if I see somebody who I'm like, clearly they're homeless, like if I have some extra money, then I'll go throw them some, I'll give them $1 or whatever I have, So, but I used to do it more because when I delivered pizzas, I always had cash on me. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't like it when people are begging. I won't do it. I had one guy this one time. He came up to me while I was getting out of my car, like I barely got out of my car, and he was asking me for change because he said, "You got anything, man? Because my car broke down. I need my gas. I need to go see my kids. They're in whatever town, And then I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm sorry, I don't have any money. And then he's like, "Okay, all right. God bless you. God bless you." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I see this dude on the other side of town at a gas station, and I saw him around the corner on a cell phone, and then I see him like put the cell phone up, and then I see him come over to the gas station, and then I had gone inside the gas station and then came back out, and then he started asking me for money, and I had to lay into him. He's like he's like "Yeah, man, I'm just trying to." I'm like, "Motherfucker, I saw you on the other side of town pulling the same shit, and I just saw you on the cell phone." I'm like, "Don't try to say that you need money, dude." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. God bless you." I'm like, "And don't put God into this either. Fuck you." I was so mad.
A little trick that he's trying to use on you there to make it seem like he's a good person.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I've had that exact same scenario so many times.
Yeah.
Because I used to go into the city centre quite a lot as a teen.
Yeah.
It was just like always the same people with the same story. Like every week, come up to you and ask, and I'll say to them, "You asked me this exact story 3 weeks in a row. Just remember faces. Like I know you probably ask 1,000 people a day, but just remember who you're asking, because I'm never going to give you anything. And if I ever see anyone giving you something, I'm going to slap it out their hands and make sure they take it back."
Yeah. Or be honest.
Be genuine. If you genuinely, it's like I used to work. I was a manager of a convenience store, and of a big chain, like our supermarket. So like you've got Walmart.
Uh-huh.
We've got we've got Asda, which is owned by Walmart. So it's essentially Walmart. And then we've got what we call the big three supermarkets. So we'll have Asda, Tesco, and Sainsbury's, which are like 100-year-old businesses. Like they're the biggest supermarket chains in Britain.
Real
and
quick.
I worked. Yeah.
Did they sell video games at Tesco's?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. But
Everything.
Okay, go on. Okay, all right.
But apart from Asda, Tesco and Sainsbury's started opening small convenience stores.
Okay.
So sort of almost like a franchise, but not. They'd rent a building, build a Sainsbury's in it, and then people like me would come in and run it. And so I was the manager of one of these in the city centre, well, just outside of the city centre, on a street called Narborough Road, which is the most culturally diverse road in Britain, in the whole of Britain. And it's ridiculous because it's just one big long road with shops either side and then houses behind them. And but all the stores are owned by sort of different ethnicities and races, religions, creeds. So there's over like 200 different nationalities that live on this one road and run businesses. And I was running a Sainsbury's bang in the middle of it. And it was also known as the Rat Run. So because a lot of the houses built behind these shops were owned by the council that were giving them to homeless people and drug addicts. So homeless people and drug addicts live there. And there was occasionally a couple of pubs in between the shops. And there was this big network of shoplifters. And so it was all drug addicts, all the local drug addicts. And they would all walk up and down the road, going into all the businesses that they knew they could steal from, stealing stuff and then taking it into the pubs to the people having a pint and saying, who wants to buy this stuff that I've just stolen? And they'd sell it for dirt cheap, obviously.
Yeah.
Because that drew attention from police and like punters that weren't buying things from them. Eventually, they all got barred from going into these establishments. So what they did was, one guy capitalized on it and saw what was happening. It was this old dude with a walking stick. And what he would do is, you'd see him every morning. He'd sit on a wall outside my store, and the shoplifters, one by one, would start walking up to him. And he'd say, right, I want you to get me bacon. I want you to get me steaks. I want you to get me cheese. I want you to get me chickens. And he'd go, because he'd been into the pubs the day before and said, I can get you anything you want. What do you want? And so all the punters in the pubs give him a shopping list of things that they want. And then the next day, he'd tell all the shoplifters, right, you've got till 5 p.m. to go get me all of these things. And so that's what they do. It was the rat run, because these drug addicts would literally go into one shop, unsuccessful, into the next one, get what they can, into the next one, unsuccessful. And they just do that all the way down the street, it was about a mile of shops. And then they'd get enough money together to get their bag of heroin for the day. And then once that's worn off, they go and see the old dude again in the morning.
Wow.
And it was just a continuous cycle of craziness. And so my store, because it's owned by a big company, it was like the prime target for the shoplifters, because they're like, well, it's got everything that we need from the list. And the way it was set up, from the tills, from the checkouts, we couldn't see straight down the aisles, because the way the store was planned, for some reason, the planner decided to put all the aisles the other way. So we were just looking at a wall of products.
Yeah.
And they could come in, the entrance was like the far corner of the store, and they could just walk down, grab what they wanted, and walk back out again. And yeah, that was a crazy time, because the amount of crackheads I would grab by the neck, like sort of drag them out. But there was the occasional ones that were, a lot of them were, well, not a lot of them, a few of them were immigrants, Eastern European immigrants. And some of them you could tell were genuinely because like the career ones, the drug addicts that didn't care, they would come in and they'd go for like fresh meat in bulk and get as much as they can in the coat and run out.
Yeah.
And so it was obvious they were selling it. But then occasionally you get ones that would come in and steal a loaf of bread. And when they just come in to steal a loaf of bread and you catch them, you can tell they're only stealing that because they need to eat.
Yeah.
Like that's for them or for their family. And so I would always let them get away with it, unless they started coming in every day and trying the same thing.
Yeah.
So I always give people that chance. And there was even a point I would, like, because you get to know the regular faces of all the shoplifters and you keep an eye out for them. And it got to a point where if I was stood at the checkout and I could see the door and they walked in and saw me and we made eye contact, they'd just wave and walk out. Because they know I'm onto them. They know I'm going to see them on the CCTV. They know it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
But also we can't get the police involved because of the value of the stuff they're stealing.
Oh.
So in order for the police to arrest them, it had to be over, I think it was £150, like the value of what they were stealing at the time. So they were walking out with £20-30 worth of stuff. So the police wouldn't come out to that anyway, even if we did catch them. So they knew that. They knew they couldn't be arrested. We know that. But also, they're doing this every day. They don't want to get into a fight every day. They know that if they get into a fight, they're on camera, and then they could be arrested for physically assaulting people.
Yeah.
So when you did catch them, 9 times out of 10, they just hand you the stuff back and say, "You got me. See you tomorrow," and then off they go. But some, like, if they were genuinely struggling, I would say to them, "Come back at the end of the day, and when I close the shop tonight at 11 p.m. and there's so much stuff that I'm going to chuck out, and I will just give it to you. Like
Yeah.
it's all like sort of fried donuts and sandwiches and things like that. And I'd say, look, if it's not been sold, it's yours. Like, because a lot of them were like genuinely nice people that were just gotten down on their luck. They got into some shit they shouldn't have done, sort of like or gone down the drug route, like the stereotypical drug route, and they needed help. And so I'd rather help them out in whatever way I could. But then you had some that were just violent career criminals that, like, some would come in and try and. I had one person come in and try and swing a glass bottle at my head because I'd caught him stealing beers.
Damn.
And he did that because I found out it was because it was coming up to the winter and he was homeless. And so he did that knowing that if he got me with a bottle, if I hadn't ducked out the
Jail.
way and been quick enough, he'd have gone to jail. He's got a nice warm cell for the winter, like over Christmas. And it's sad. It's really sad. But, you know, it's people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the reality of life, that a lot of the people, the big wigs that are sitting in their fancy towers, they don't see that. They will tar everyone with that same brush and say, well, they're useless anyway.
Oh, they see it, but they just don't want to. They don't really want to help the issue. They don't want to help the people. So, you know, I mean, yeah,
As long as their pockets are lined,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I was gonna ask you something. What is the deal with you guys? At least Kemp. What's the deal with him wanting to put the Grand Canyon between you and Scotland?
I don't think Kempin's ever actually been to Scotland. We're talking about a guy that didn't leave Leicester until he was probably in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
I think.
So is he your Charlie Day? Is he your Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Have you ever watched that show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that show.
Yeah, I do
Watched
too,
them all.
yeah.
I wouldn't say he's my Charlie. I suppose he is kind of a Charlie Day in sort of his obliviousness, but he's not a wild card like Charlie.
Okay,
Charlie
alright.
is always funny. So it's
Yeah.
like he might say something random, but he's never going to do something random.
Yeah.
Like,
He said something in
But,
the
yeah.
last episode that had me cracking up, and I can't remember what it was. But I mean the joke with the Mortal Kombat, that one,
Oh,
the
yeah.
finish him. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That joke that Lee had. But yeah,
that was
Kemp.
brilliant.
Yeah, Kemp said something, and now I can't remember what it is. I guess I'll have to listen to it again. So I will. I'll do that when I go to work. So yeah,
Kempin, for years, he is just. I don't know what it is about him. So it's like, because a lot of people say, "Oh, he's a bit odd, isn't he?"
yeah,
And I say, "Yeah, he is," but he is literally the nicest guy you will ever meet. Like he doesn't have a bad bone in his body. Like he could never hurt a fly. He's got a dark sense of humor,
yeah.
but until we find evidence, I don't think that he's ever going to do anything.
No bodies
That he
buried
said
in
he
his
could-
basement.
No, yeah, or any photos on his phone he shouldn't have.
Got it.
But
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like because he sees some sketchy shit on the internet. So when we were teenagers, because I've known him since I was 12 years old, and so I've always known he's been like looking at weird shit on the internet because he showed it to me, and like sort of, you know, sort of early 2000s when the internet was getting quite big, and you'd have people sharing videos of Taliban beheadings,
Yeah, yeah,
and sort of the shock videos
Yep.
that you find on the internet. And he'd say, "Oh, mate, you got to see this one. It's so funny." And I was like, no, dude, I don't find people being literally murdered on camera funny. Like, it's quite disturbing, really. And
He's
the
like-
fact that you're laughing at it
Yeah.
is even more disturbing.
He's like, no, this one, this this one shit himself after he died. It's hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's like, "Oh, look how many times, how long it takes him to saw his head off." Like, no, that's not amusing. But
So you're saying
yeah, so
he'd be a serial killer if he just had motivation, like if he had that drive.
the thing is, he has very little coordination and
Okay.
physical prowess. So, like, he's never been physically able to do a lot.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's lived a very sheltered life.
Uh-huh.
Like he was an only child, and like he sort of grew up with his mum and dad, and they'd just been in the house all the time, and he like had all his computer games and videos, VHS tapes and what have you, and didn't need anything else. Like, so he had everything sort of
Yeah.
self-contained, and it shows when we sort of got to mid-teens, sort of 14 or 15, and we're going out and starting to drink and get into shenanigans. Because me and my other mates, we weren't sort of, even though we were breaking the law underage drinking, we weren't going around smashing things up and sort of getting into fights and stuff. We'd just go and do stupid things like to amuse ourselves. It was sort of the jackass period as well.
Yeah.
So we were just like jumping in bushes and doing silly things like that. And Kemp couldn't get involved. He would stand there chuckling, just chuckling his ass off, and like, we go, "Oh, come on, Kemp, have a go." "Oh, I'm all right, chaps. You carry on. I'm having fun as it is." He's always been a spectator. He's an
Yeah.
expert spectator. Just yeah, but that's Kemp.
That's funny.
Nicest guy in the world. Physically quite useless.
So, but what is the deal with England and Scotland? Like, why was he saying that?
No. A lot of the times, Kempin says things that he doesn't believe. Like, so a lot of the criticism I get from people about me is when he says things like that. So, like him saying, "Oh, yeah, we should just put something between Scotland." He's got no reason for saying it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Other than he might have read someone arguing with a Scottish person on the internet, and probably made his mind up from there. "Oh, that must mean everyone hates Scotland."
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's kind of like his way of thinking. And then, but people criticize me because I'll be the one that says, "Why do you think that, Kel? What reason do you have?" It's like the most recent one we've recorded. We're doing Lee's segment that we change the name of every week.
Yeah.
Um,
you know, also, actually, I like that you change it every week. I think that's funny. Yeah.
Well, because we thought of a title for the first one we did when we thought of the idea for the segment, but none of us liked it. So
Yeah.
I just wrote in brackets "working title"
Yeah.
in the chat, and so I just thought it'd be funny if we just every week come up with a different one and a different scenario that he's in, and,
Yeah.
and just say title at the end.
Yep.
That's just a little joke for me.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I get it.
Thanks, man. But yeah, so this week we're thinking of ones to put in, and Kempin won the Rochambeau, and so he went first, and he said one of the most ridiculous things to come out of his mouth that I've ever heard. And so what he wanted to banish and get rid of forever was driving licenses.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking. This is coming from a guy who's one of the worst drivers on the planet. Like, and I've never known anyone that's dinged their car more times parking on their own driveway than this guy. And he said driving licenses, and I just took him to bits because I broke down every little consequence, and then he was like, "Oh, that," but then he backpedals. But this is what I get criticised for, because he starts backpedaling and he gets sort of stuck on the spot, and people think that I'm bullying him.
Oh,
But
okay,
I'm not. I'm just, because I know that what he's just said he doesn't believe,
Yeah.
and it's just something that's random that's popped into his head, and he's not actually thought it through. So I question the little bits and sort of pick it apart, and I think it ended up quite funny for this episode, because there's sometimes some things that I say to him where I instantly think that was too far. That was a little bit too much. So like the mum jokes, I don't think are too much, because that's mine and his humour that we've always had. Like, because I know every time I say a mum joke, I know that Kempin's going to laugh at it, regardless of what the context is. But sometimes I'll say something and I'll think I said that like sincerely, and it sounded really mean and nasty, and so I'll chop things like that out because. And at the time as well, when I notice it, I'll say, "Sorry, dude, that's too much," and like so I'll apologize, and so stuff like that gets cut out of the episode because I just think that's not fair. Like I already go far enough with him when we're recording anyway. Like when it goes too far, I know that. See, I'm just trying to be funny, but sometimes the honesty slips up and it comes out. I can't help it.
Yeah.
And it's just like an impulse control that I don't have. But I do recognise it after the fact and think, no, I can't say that to him.
Yeah.
I don't want him to go home and cry.
Yeah, you were talking about him saying like just random stuff or whatever, and it makes no sense. Did you listen to the episode where we had interviewed Rowan?
Yes.
The Rowan spilled the beans. Yeah, when he ends up talking, he was like talking about the whole family was gay. This whole family was gay. And I'm like, okay. And then he's all, I don't know, they played tetherball. And I'm like, what is that? What does playing tetherball have to do with it? When he said it, I was like, what are you talking about?
That's exactly the set. That's Kempin's humor exactly was what you just said. It's like you'd say something like, I know this guy down the street, he owns a Nissan. And Kemp might go, oh, well, it's obviously a gay couple.
Yeah.
Or like just something random, like even though stereotypically a Nissan's not like it's not even related to a gay couple.
Yeah.
He'll just say it.
It's because he probably knew one gay couple that had a Nissan and he's like, oh yeah. Yeah, all of them are that way. Yeah.
Well, maybe not even that. He'll just say it just to be funny. 9 times out of 10 it lands.
Yeah.
And but it's when he forces it. So like when he forces it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like if trying too hard to be funny, it's when he's naturally funny that he's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
So sort of like when we were thinking up ideas for the podcast, I said like, when I have ideas for things like this, like and with bands and stuff like that, I have a clear, right, this is how I want it to be done. Like, and I'd like to stick to this way. And then if it fails, it's all on me because it was my idea.
Yeah, I like that.
If that makes sense. So like with bands, it'd be, I'll write the set list and I will write a set list in such a way that we have scheduled breaks in the music where people can go have a beer but also sort of increase the popularity of the songs that we're playing towards the end and build it and so that we make an impact with wherever we're playing. And then if it doesn't work or something doesn't work, I'll change it and I'll put my hands up to the mistake.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm really good at writing set lists because I'd been doing it for quite a while. But so with the podcast, I was like, right, I've got this vision for the podcast because driving on the road, trucking, 2 years, listening to 8 hours of podcasts every day, like every shift, sort of like every so often I'd get a bit burnt out and so I'd turn them off for a little while. And then I'd just I wouldn't put any music on or anything. I'd just picture what we would do in a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up with all the ideas for the segments and the way we formatted it. Because I've listened to all these other podcasts, like hundreds of other podcasts, and like they all they didn't have the same format that we've got. Where I thought more like a TV sketch show.
Yeah.
So you'd have a jingle or an intro leading into a 15, 20-minute segment. Initially, I wanted it to just be 30 to 40-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So that's why the first episode's so choppy, because I was cutting out every little gap I could see in the audio file. Yeah. But over time, I've just thought, well, it's just got longer and longer. It's sort of averaging about an hour 45 now. But yeah, so I had this clear vision, and I'd written headlines for the titles of the segments and things like that. And so once I'd got all the equipment together, I was like, right, guys, like I asked if they were all in first before I spent any money. And they were, Lee was a bit apprehensive at first. because he's a licensed therapist, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And so he sort of deals with mental health issues and stuff. And my original idea for the podcast was it was going to be the format that we've got, but based around weed.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be like a stoner podcast, and sort of obviously it's illegal here, so we'd be smoking on air and talking about it. And sort of my idea, having segments for sampling different strains and things like, and like different bongs and stuff like that. And he wasn't too keen on that idea, and he said I wouldn't be able to do it if we were doing that kind of stuff because my career could be on the line.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's fair enough, but I really want you involved. And I said, well, how about segments like based on other stuff, like interests and movies and things like that? And he said, oh, yeah, I think that'd be all right.
Yeah.
So we sort of grew it from there. But the point I'm rolling back around to, I'm starting to ramble away, but I'll bring it back in. Kempin would often message the group, how about this idea? And it and he'd say, right, so this is an idea I've got called That's Just Bollocks. And I said, right, okay. And I said, so what's that involved then? He said, well, I'll ask you a question, and whatever you answer, whether even if it's correct or not, I'll just tell you that is bollocks, and then that's it. It's funny to tell someone that idea, but then I just said, how is that going to work every week?
Yeah, it works once. It works once.
Yeah. I said, are you going to write these questions beforehand? He said, no, we'll just wing it. I said, well, you could do. I said, but like, I'm trying to structure it so that we don't sort of go off topic. We could do it, like, we'll stick to a topic, might go on tangents, but we've got sort of a loose structure that we can stick to so we don't run out of things to talk about. I said, so I'm structuring it more like a TV show. Yeah. So you've got a little script, like a live TV show, a little bit of script, and then sort of we're away and we know what we're doing. I said, if you were to go be a writer on a TV show, and you'd show up one day in the writer's room, and they say, right, what have you got, Kemp? And then you'd say, well, basically, I'm just going to get whoever's on stage to wing it and ask a random question. I said, the producer's going to say, well, no, you're a writer. You're supposed to be writing what the premise is.
Yeah.
I tried to explain it to him that way, and he was kind of like, yeah, fair enough. Well, just an idea, chap. Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming up with ideas, but let's try and have it in keeping with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I like that you guys have segments and stuff. I mean, that's what I was told too. Like when we first started out, I had a couple of people say that they thought it would be better with segments, and so that's why I thought, the Ask a Brit thing would be great. Then that way we can break up the podcast. I mean, most of our podcasts are about an hour and 20 minutes. So, so it's just nice to kind of break it up. And
I think for you guys, you might benefit more. So having your long form episode like you do, having a couple of segments just sort of dropped in. So you've got sort of maybe the main episode, main content is in 3 parts, and then you have a little something sort of in between, like an ad break, but a different of you guys. Like something you could do, like when you have your recording sessions, you might be able to do 2 or 3 of and chop them up, and then you've got like a few in the bank, and like you can just sort of drop one in every week, kind of thing. Yeah, I think that could work.
Yeah, I mean, we have the thing where it's we have you guys, the Ask a Brit, and then we have the let me ask you something.
I like that. Yeah,
and it's like that was supposed to be where we would just spout off like some random like just nonsense. But then the last one that we recorded, we actually like earnestly answered the questions, but it was supposed to be us just doing like really quick whatever we were thinking of. So so it was kind of, I think some of them are going to be like honest answers, and then some of them will be a little wild, a little crazy or whatever. But yeah, and then I really like your segment. Rowan, he listens to the podcast and he really likes you guys, like your segment.
Cool.
So but he can't figure out how to work Spotify, so I don't think he's listening to you guys regularly. So I keep trying to tell him, like, dude, you gotta end up signing on. So, you know, but he's like, yeah, I know, man. I couldn't play your podcasts and stuff, so it wasn't working right, and like he can't subscribe to it. And I think it was my old phone. I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, yeah, I'll just keep texting you, reminding you. I feel like nobody, the social media thing, I feel like I'm doing all the work for the, like, letting people know, like, nobody's subscribing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm having to remind like all the people I've told, like, hey man, we got a new episode. So I'm sending out texts to all these different people, you know, that I've told. Some people, I texted people that I haven't talked to since like high school. So like I was just trying to throw it out there. I mean, it's been, you know, some of these people, like, it's been like 20 years since I've talked to them. I still have their phone number. And I'm like, hey man, you listen to podcasts? And they're like, not really. I'm like, all right, never mind. So, you know, and then when we have somebody, we had a repair guy come in to fix the dryer, and I'm all, hey man, you listen to podcasts? And he's all, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, man. And then the refrigerator guy came to fix the refrigerator. Hey man, you listen to podcasts? He's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, what do you listen to? And then he told me. I was like, cool. And he told me this one that he was listening to, and I'm like, I'll check that out. And now I actually listened to it. So, but I don't know if he's listening to mine, because I ended up telling him, like, hey man, you should check out my podcast, like, you know. But yeah, so
yeah, the last time I went to buy weed, the guy that I used to get it from, he used to come into that shop that I was running, and
okay.
he used to stink of weed. Like, he was just a random dude, and like, I used to built up a bit of rapport with him. And then one day I just went, oh, you smell nice. I think I've got that same aftershave.
Yeah.
And he's oh, do you now? We just got to it. Turns out he was a dealer. So,
Okay.
but I saw him about, I think it's got to be 2 or 3 months ago was the last time I went and bought some weed. And he said, oh, we're having a catch up because I hadn't seen him for a couple of years. And yeah, and I said, oh yeah, well, I've started a podcast and blah blah blah. And he said, oh, me and my girlfriend listen to podcasts every week. What's the name of it? So I told him, and we started talking about it. And he's like, yeah, man, I'll definitely listen to that. And he's not listened to it.
Well, yeah, you got a drug dealer to go ahead and listen to it, so he's probably not that reliable, man. But
yeah, I mean, I did once sit in a room with him when I went to go buy some weed. And I was just chatting to him, and he had some. He called it shatter, but I think you guys call it dabs. So
yeah.
the resin
We'll call
up and paper.
yeah, they'll call it shatter too here. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had some of that. I'd never even knew about that stuff before, and he had it, and I said, "Oh, what's that, you guys?" He said, "Oh, this is shatter." And I like had his smoking big glass smoking apparatus that he was using, and set it all up. And I said, "Oh, is it good?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "I would offer you some." He said, because we'd always smoke weed together whenever I went around and I bought some off him. He was cool like that. He was like, "Normally I would offer you some, but I know you're driving." And I said, "Well, I've got quite a high tolerance, but you've got a higher tolerance than me, so I'm going to take your advice.
Yeah.
And I'll sit it out. I'll just watch how you do it. I'm a bit intrigued." And so he set it all up, and he got his blowtorch, and you know, too much effort for me. I'll just roll it and smoke it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he smoked it, and I just watched his face just change completely. He was like a completely different person. It's like his face melted into something else, and his eyes just glazed over, and he just stared through me. And I said, "Are you all right, dude?" He was like, "Yeah, I should be for about the next 8 hours."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'm just gonna let myself out."
Yeah.
As long as it's cool, I'll leave you to it. Yeah, that stuff's crazy.
Yeah, I took a dab one time, and it was hardcore, man. It was I mean, it was good, but yeah, it was something else. Do you know they actually have here, like, they actually have patches. So, like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, like like a nicotine patch.
Yeah.
They got it with THC. So you can get it, you can get in them in different strengths, but you pop that puppy on your arm or on your leg, and it'll be with you all day. So
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I need one of them.
yeah.
Honestly, if they sold them over here, I'd be there. Like, my wife's actually got a medical cannabis card. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't smoke it or anything, but she's been prescribed THC oils,
Oh, okay.
and so she's got a few of them for like various ailments that she's riddled with. And so when she got them, I kept saying to her, just let me try some. Just let me have a little bit, because
Yeah.
I've tried edible in Amsterdam, and I ate like 5 space cakes in a row,
Oh,
and
shit.
it didn't do anything.
Really?
And
Okay.
It didn't. Yeah. And I said to someone in one of the shops, I was like, "Look, I've just spent like 20 euros on these cakes, and they've not done anything. Like, it's been like 3 hours now, and I'm there's nothing happening." And they said, "Oh, did you smoke a joint before you had the space cakes?" I said, "Well, obviously I've been smoking it since I woke up." They said, "There you go, you're already stoned.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just keeping you stoned for longer."
Longer. Yeah.
Ah, right, okay. But yeah, so she's got these oils, and she's like, "No, it's my medicine. I need it." She has like tiny little measured droplets of, like, sort of in a little syringe. She'll have like 0.01 milligrams at a time, like, as a dose, like properly regulated medicine.
Yeah.
But it's high THC content,
Okay.
but it's not. The dose she takes isn't enough to get her high.
Does she drop it under her tongue?
Yeah, just straight under the tongue. And then one day, not so long ago, she said, "Oh, this one that I've got's too strong, and is making me feel a bit sick. So, did you want to try it now?" I said, "Yeah, pass it over here. Let's have a go on this." And so I got it, and she said, "Oh, don't have too much. Don't like drink the bottle." I said, "Well, I'm not going to." So I'm not, like, if you need it again, you want to have some left. So I drew up 10 milligrams. she was on 0.05, and
Oh, wow.
and then she upped to 0.1, and that's when she started feeling sick and started feeling the psychoactive effects of it. And so I drew up 10, and she said, "Oh, you can't do that much." I said, "Look, I've got a high tolerance." I said, like, there's a trick to weed that not many people know about unless you speak to the Amsterdam locals. And it's when you feel yourself getting too high, or if you want to sober up, like, if you've got stuff to do, if you like, and you think, "Oh, I've smoked a bit too much now, I need to come back down," you drink a glass of apple juice. And because when you get high, what actually makes you high is the lack of vitamin C in your brain.
Oh, okay.
So it diminishes the vitamin C in your brain, and then you get the feeling of being high. So you drink a bottle of apple juice, and it replenishes the vitamin C and practically sobers you straight up.
Huh.
So the trick to Amsterdam, or smoking strong weed and keeping up with people, is you have a joint with an apple juice, and then you just stay on the level, and you just keep yourself at one level. And so I said to her, "I know what I'm doing. I'm a bit of a seasoned pro, so let's have a go." And so I just drank this vile liquid. It was really strong.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I drank it, and that's it, because we had the idea for the podcast to. Well, Lee had the idea, because I have such a hatred for anything made by DC. I won't get into it, but I dislike DC a lot. He had an idea of started a new segment where every week he would give me a DC movie to watch, and then when we recorded, I'd review it and give my honest criticism.
Yeah.
And he'd try and change my point of view on DC movies, because I think they're all tripe, apart from Batman, they're all tripe. So he said, I'm going to start you off on one of my recent favourites, and it was The Batman, which Mex was talking to you about on one of your earlier episodes. So I said, well, Batman's kind of my exception, because I love Batman. I grew up with the 89 Batman and all the toys and everything. So, like, he's literally the only part of DC that I like.
Gets a pass, yeah.
Yeah. And but I said, you know what, I'll give it a go. And so when I was reviewing it was when I drank this THC oil. Because I thought, I don't want to pause the film, go out and have a smoke, come back in and just keep disturbing it. So I'll just try the THC oil, sit down and watch this movie. And I got to exactly, I don't know how I remember it, but I like started feeling a little bit more and more stoned as I went through. And it was exactly 1 hour and 32 minutes. That was sort of the halfway point of the movie where I just asleep.
Oh, wow.
It was like the eyes just shut automatically and I was asleep on the sofa, like upright. Just... and so my wife had already gone to bed, so I woke up a few hours later, really, really high, and I said, right, I'm going to watch the rest of the movie tomorrow. We recorded that review, but it ended up being over an hour long.
Oh wow!
Because I had quite a few things to say about it.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's been put aside for a standalone episode one day.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few of those.
Yeah. Well, in my in the one bring us the best of your bits that I did, like that episode, I ended up adding some stuff that I had cut previously. So yeah. So like the joke that I had about I don't know if did you hear that one or no?
To be honest with you, I've not had a chance. I think the last one I listened to was probably episode 14, 13.
Okay. Yeah.
I've just not had the chance to listen to anything
No
for weeks.
Yeah, no worries. Well, dude, it's so chaotic during the holidays, man. But yeah, the best of your bits. It was one time we hired this guy for the pizza place that I worked at, and his name was Adolf. That was his name was Adolf. And I'm like, okay. So what?
Being a bad name. One letter off being a bad name.
No, it was Adolf. It was he had.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear the L.
Yeah, Adolf. It was the name. So I ended up like I said to the manager, I'm like, "What? We got a new hire, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah." And his name's Adolf, and he's like, "Yeah. He's just gonna be a cashier, right?" And the manager's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay. He's not gonna be anywhere around the ovens, right?" And then and then he's like, "No, he's just a cashier." And then he's like, the manager goes, "Oh, yeah, really funny." I'm like, "Yeah, it was really funny. You didn't laugh because you didn't get it." So, yeah, it was funny. I thought it was hilarious, but I had cut that previously, and then just added it in that one. So that's something that you guys. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of things that you've cut that you could probably add for like a Patreon audience or something like that.
Dude, I've got a folder on here. I think probably at least 8 standalone episodes. So like we started doing a segment that we called Top 5, where we'd like say, right, top 5 Marvel favorite MCU movies. So like just for the start, so let's just do some easy ones that that have been overdone, but just to get into the flow of things. And so we'd make a list. We'd each make a list of our top 5 personal favorites. And then sort of roll the dice and go through 5 to 1 and say what's your favorite. And in my mind, that was going to be really fast and sort of be a 20-minute, 30-minute segment, but it would go on for like an hour and a half every week. And so like the majority, like at the minute, the biggest time eater is the greatest of all time that we do, which is basically the top 5, but only picking one. So and that's getting too long. But yeah, the top 5 have gone for like an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. And the guys, Kemper said, "Oh, why don't you just chop it down to 20 minutes?" I said, "You can't. Like, if I was to chop it down to 20 minutes, then you're getting rid of everything right, that makes that movement what it is." So I said, instead, what I've done is I've edited them as an episode. So I've got each one down to about 45 minutes to an hour. And then just put them in a folder. So I said, like, once we start getting more listeners, like, hopefully we'll start getting into the flow of things a bit more this year with the promoting and what have you. Once we get people like messaging in regularly and like trying to chat to us like strangers, not just people that we know. Then, and we get to a point where I think it's going to be worth making a Patreon. People start asking for a Patreon, for instance, even if it's only a couple of people, then that's for that. Right? Because Lee can only record once a week. I can record with Kempin any night, practically, because he doesn't have any responsibilities. So I can, and my brother, he's available Sunday night to Wednesday night. I've said, I've discussed it with Lee and said, if you have to miss a few episodes and we're at risk of running out of stuff to put out, do you mind if my brother comes in and sits in for you? Which he's done for the first time last week.
Yeah.
Coming out the week after next. So I've said to him, like, once we do get to the point of Patreon, rather than thinking, shit, we need to either make our recording sessions longer, which is impossible because that takes us to 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And me got commitments the next day. Having these that we've tried, but I've saved them and edited them. Like, we could have a whole series. We've got about 5 top 5s that we've not actually put out. So I've said, like, we've got a series there. So for the Patreon members, we've got that extra content rather than purposely sit down and try and figure out a way to make more and end up doing more ourselves. Sort of, we've already got it there. Like, whatever I cut out from episodes, I put into a folder saved. So if need be, I could just jump into that folder and make a whole episode out of offcuts and sort of out. So that's working quite well. I would like to get Patreon up and running because I think we've enough stuff to be able to put on it, and we could put anything on there. We could just record silly videos and put them on there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And eventually, if we start filming the podcast as well, are you guys going to start filming, like sort of recording the?
I don't know. I honestly don't want to end up having my face out there. Just I like the anonymity. So I've considered, just like if I do record, just having the sunglasses on like I do in the picture. Yeah. So then at least there's a little bit of anonymity, but because I don't normally wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
So I just did it in that picture to look cool. Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I'm sure we will at some point. Mex wants to do a bunch of like TikTok videos and then like YouTube stuff, like just sketches and things like that. So because I had a bunch of sketch ideas like throughout my life. So he's like, yeah, man, you could write some stuff and we'll do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but I've thought about going on to Reddit and trying to promote the podcast in the trucker subreddit.
All right.
Yeah, because I'm like, you know what I need to do is I need to reach the people who are actually listening to podcasts. So
that's a really good idea.
Yeah, because that podcast subreddit that I ended up finding you in, it's just other people who have podcasts, and then they're so busy
Yeah.
with their own podcasts. Like anybody who asks the question, like, "Oh, I'm looking for this kind of podcast," and then all they do is they promote their own. Rightfully so, I get it, because they're trying to get people to listen. But I feel like a lot of times their questions don't get answered because it's just people trying to self promote, and I feel like it's kind of rare that anybody actually has a conversation or starts to support each other. I mean, like I reached out to a bunch of people on Reddit in that subreddit, and you're the only one that I still talk to. So,
I've only interacted with 2 people from that subreddit, and that's you and this lady not so long ago, who had like a wine podcast. I'm sure I told you about it when we were chatting. And so I mocked all of her episodes as played, like I said I would in the chat, because she said she was going to listen to ours just to listen to the sound quality, and her sound quality was like pro.
Yeah.
She was like you, sat in a dining room, and it sounded crystal clear. And so I marked all of hers as played, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'll give yours a listen." And so I checked back on Anchor the following day, and there was no extra plays on any of the episodes. So she basically got my plays out of me, and then that was it.
Yeah, you felt used.
I thought, well, fuck you, lady. Yeah,
well,
fuck you, lady. I've spent valuable time listening to a woman talk about wine.
I did actually have I had some people listen that I had a person in New York listened, a couple people in New York actually, and then and I got more people in New York. So I had Queens, Brooklyn, whatever, Holtzville, which is cool. But I actually had somebody in Guernsey listen over in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, Isle of I've been there.
Yeah,
it's I moved someone there. It's big island for heroin addicts.
Is it? Yeah, they're all stuck. They can't swim off. So yeah,
that's it. And they're the main stop off for the drug imports.
Oh, okay.
For all the heroin.
Well, it's
from the rest of Young.
Yeah, the guy listened to the podcast. He listened to one episode. So I was like, okay, all right, that's cool, man. But I actually subscribed to his because it's him and his son who's like 12, and they just talk about like cool stuff. Like they'll talk, like they had one episode where they were talking about like witchcraft, and then another episode where they were talking about eating boogers. So it was like, is it okay to eat boogers? So it was just, yeah, it was just funny. And, so it was just interesting. It was cool to see like a father and son, like the dynamic of that. So, but, yeah, it's hard trying to find people because at least in my circle, like me and Mex, we're the only ones out of all my friends that listen to podcasts. And I did.
Like, even though it's a really popular format, like, I don't know anyone around me that genuinely listens to podcasts all the time.
Well,
it's weird.
Yeah. I delivered pizzas. Mex delivered pizzas. That's how we met. And, I mean, you were a truck driver. So you're driving for so long, it's like, this is what I do. So I'm like, we gotta talk to truckers. That's what we need to do. So,
great idea.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna do that eventually at some point in time. So, but
I thought when we do our crossover episodes, I'll do art for hours. So I'll get in touch, see if I can get another picture or two of you and Mex.
Okay.
At some point down the line. Then I'll make an artwork with the 5 of us on it.
Okay.
Something silly.
Yeah. So
I'll put all of our faces on like the Backstreet Boys. Or something
that
like
would be fantastic, man. I like that idea. Yeah, that's great.
Use
man.
like Backstreet Boys album cover.
That would be great. Yeah, but That's yeah. So we'll have to both get on that trucker subreddit and we'll do some promoting, man. So yeah, it would be
Yeah,
good.
I'll have a look. I should hopefully. My wife finishes her course in February, so she should have gained enough knowledge. She's currently, I think they're building a web page or something, or learning how to build web pages. And I've bought the domain, and I've put up a site under construction page, like as a
nice.
home page, because I don't know what to do with it. I did that before we released an episode. Like, I thought
Okay.
I've got to snap it up now. Got to get it,
Yeah.
so no one else does. And yeah, so once she's learned everything she needs to learn, she's going to get on there and put all the links to Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of it. Put samples on there for me, and because I don't know what I'm doing with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that should be good. Hopefully this year we'll be able to promote more, especially when I finish my little secret project I've got that I'm going to be starting soon. Little side hustle
Oh, sweet.
that should make me a few quid to put into the podcast. At the minute I've got nothing.
Yeah. That's all right though. Yeah. Hopefully that'll work out. So then you can make some extra cash that could go towards the podcast maybe or whatever.
I just want to get some paid promotion.
Yeah.
I just sort of pay some podcast networks to advertise for me for a little bit, and because I've got all the artwork there and any images that they need for promotion, and we've got enough episodes for people to use. So that's the plan, is to in about 3 or 4 months' time, hopefully my project will come to fruition, and I'll be able to pump some money into advertising.
Yeah. I know. I thought about advertising on Facebook, but we don't really have
Yeah,
a
I used to do
Facebook
it.
presence.
Yeah, I used to do it for bands years ago. Whenever I was in a band, I'd like pay to promote posters and things like for gigs, and I never really got anything out of it. There was never really much of a response. But
Oh, okay.
it might be different now. I've not been on Facebook for 3 years until I started the podcast, and I literally go on there, post my shit on a Friday, and then just leave it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan either. I've heard your rant, and I totally agree with your rant. So I'm with you on all that. Yeah. But I should get going. I gotta actually go get some groceries. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
good idea. Eating is a good thing to do.
Well, I mean, I've done plenty of it, so I could go a few days, but the kids will start to complain. So
I'm the same. I've lived in poverty for most of my life, so I know how to survive for a few days without. But my
Yeah.
girls, I can't see them unfed.
no, and Top Ramen ain't gonna work enough. So yeah.
Yeah, my kids won't eat it anyway.
Oh really? Oh okay. Yeah, because it's not shaped like a dinosaur chicken nugget.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But no, the only thing was pasta and butter. They're just
Oh.
plain pasta with a knob of butter in it.
Oh my gosh.
Don't get
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's weird.
I love it.
Yeah.
But they are weird kids. So
That's all right.
I'll leave you to it then, dude.
Okay. All right, man. It was good talking to you, and I'm glad this worked out okay. I think as long as we don't end up opening up a bunch of stuff, it'll be easy.